Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Viewers, welcome to another episode of Defense and Diplomacy. I'm your host, Sultan M. Hali. The long-awaited visit of President Obama to India has come and gone. A number of expectations had been raised because of the 4,500 signatory petition which was submitted to the US Embassy and to President Obama, asking him to pay special attention to the atrocities of the Indian forces in Kashmir. What has been achieved at the end of this visit, and what do we look forward to? To discuss, we have the honor to welcome in our studio today Shah Ghulam Qadir, who has been a former Speaker of the Kashmir Legislative Assembly and is a very strong contender for the Kashmir issue and its resolution. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We have with us Advocate Tariq Pirzada, who is not only a renowned lawyer, but has devoted a lot of time to the study of the Kashmir issue and is an ardent analyst. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start the discussion with you, Shah Sahab. What were the expectations and what has been achieved as a result of Obama's visit?
I think, Ali Sahab, there are 2-3 points to be discussed. Number one is what was the expectation as a Pakistani, as a Kashmiri, as an Indian and as an American. So these are the 4 different aspects.
Stakeholders in
the stakeholders. Number one is the American expectation was to have a strategic partnership with India to achieve that goal, and to have a business partnership also, because after losing the Democratic Party losing the elections or the Congress, President Obama was under tremendous pressure.
True.
Because it was a very difficult for him that a black president was elected, and after 2 years his party is losing the elections for the Congress. So he was under tremendous pressure because of the economic situation of the US. So American interest was to have a business partnership with India and a strategic partnership with India vis-à-vis China, because the China containment policy is there for the last more than 30 years of the US administration. So they are all looking towards that they don't want China to be a world power and playing a world strategic role in different problems of the world. So they wanted to do that. What as the Indians wanted? Indians wanted Pakistan bashing from the American. They wanted to stop the aid to Pakistan by the US. They wanted that Pakistan should be blamed for all the evils in the world. So that was the Indian, and they definitely wanted the business also. As a Pakistani, Pakistan wanted that India and Pakistan should resolve all the issues, and President Obama should play a role in resolving the conflicts.
And the major issue is the Kashmir issue.
So the Kashmiris wanted that President Obama is coming to India and he should say something to the Indians that, look, Kashmiris are not with you, and stop the human rights violations and stop killing and resolve the conflict. So everybody, I think, has got something out of his visit. If as a Kashmiri, I would say, you can see the joint press conference by Manmohan Singh and President Obama. The question raised on Kashmir was not by an Indian journalist. It was raised by a US journalist.
True.
And President Obama's response was that yes, Kashmir is a dispute and we would like to support if they ask us, but we want a solution to that dispute between India and Pakistan.
At that point, let me refer it to the advocate. 4,500 signatories penned to the petition which was titled Tragic Situation in Kashmir and request to President Obama to mediate. And the 4,500 signatories included not only prominent Kashmiri leaders, but 12 parliamentarians from the USA and from Britain. This was submitted to President Obama, but it was apparently put on the back burner Do you think so, or what's your opinion?
Well, you know, there are 3-4 things that are important to be understood in reference to the relations between United States and India vis-a-vis Pakistan. I say United States and India vis-a-vis Pakistan. This is what we are talking about. The United States' interest lies not in the resolution of Kashmir, but to talk about it so that they can score some points within Pakistan. This is the way they handled the whole issue. This is the way they have been talking for the last 60 years of this issue. Their issue was to bring up India, and they said India has risen as a world power. It is not rising. Number two, their strategic dialogue with India and relationship with India is all embracive, including maintaining not only a strong world power status for India around the world, but also in the region. And this is a message to the other countries, including Pakistan, that recognize India as a world power, listen to India, and if you can work something out on disputed issues with India, that's fine. Otherwise, there is a limit and there's a red line you cannot cross vis-a-vis India. So that was a very clear message. Number two, the President of the United States was very unfair on one thing. The atrocities in Kashmir, the death and assassination of 70,000 Kashmiris over the last several years, that was overlooked. 2,000 people massacred in Gujarat, thousands of Sikhs massacred. India has a terrible human rights record, and the President of the United States overlooked that.
I would like to point out that President Obama visited the mausoleum of Gandhi. And in his address to the Lok Sabha, he mentioned that I revere Gandhi for his non-violence. He also mentioned that Martin Luther King, the great human rights activist of the United States, had come to India and was impressed by Gandhi, and he had followed the Gandhian principles. Having said all that, to support India because of its state terrorism, there is a dichotomy here.
India has been sponsoring state terrorism in Kashmir, which is a disputed territory. India does not recognize it as a disputed territory, but that is irrelevant. On the world stage, at the level of the United Nations, by the resolutions of the United Nations, Kashmir is a 100% disputed territory and a part of the unfinished agenda of the creation of India and Pakistan. So on number two, the very important point that should not be missed is that, as I said, Kashmir was handled by President Obama. They should be resolved bilaterally between the two countries. And if asked, the United States would like to help. But the issue is, who is asking them? India is adamant. Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said very clearly in the same press conference that we want to discuss all the issues and resolve them, but there is an issue of terrorism for Pakistan, and he linked the resolution of any issue with the end of terrorism sponsored by Pakistan, as he alleges. So the result is we are at a 0 point again after 63 years, and Pakistan's position is that it has been told to look to the shadow of India as a world power.
If you hold that thought, you mentioned the United Nations. Shah Sahab, one of the major achievements of India has been that the United States has agreed to endorse the Indian aspiration of becoming a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. How do you think this is going to affect the Kashmir issue?
I think number one, it is very premature for supporting India to have a permanent seat in the Security Council, because the reformation of the Security Council and this is under debate, and it would take another 20 to 30 years. So I think it was just a political statement. It won't have any effect on the UN system right now or for the next 5 to 10 years. Second is, it is very much shocking news for the Kashmiris also. When the Indian government, which is not abiding by the principles of the United Nations Charter, which is not abiding by the